Hello, everyone, and welcome into Coach Craig's Sports. This is the NBA DFS Core Pick video for today, Friday, March 22nd. If you're joining me for the very first time, this is how today's video will be structured. We'll be going over a recap of yesterday's picks, seeing how they ultimately ended up turning out. Then after that, we'll get moved over to the injuries in play. It's going to be an 8-game main slate on DraftKings and a 5-game main slate on FanDuel. So it should make for a pretty interesting slate overall, and a lot of differences between the two sites just because we don't have those final 3 games on the FanDuel side. And then after that, we'll get moved over to my core picks on both sides. So it's going to be one player at each position. So point guard, shooting guard, small forward, power forward, and center. But without further ado, we'll get started with that recap of yesterday's picks. So on the DraftKings side, we had Dennis Schroeder, $6,200 at that point guard spot. Looking for at least 31 on him, only got 22.5, so he ultimately was a miss yesterday. 2 for 9 shooting from the field. Most of his DraftKings points actually came from assists yesterday, so if we got a little bit more scoring out of him, would have paid off, but kind of unfortunate there overall. At shooting guard, went with Miles McBride, $4,700, looking for at least 23, 24 out of him. Got to 23.75, so he was a hit. Obviously, we would like to get a little bit more out of him, but still was not a bad play regardless. And then at small forward, we ultimately ended up on Brandon Ingram, $7,500. Only got 24.5 points, so he was a miss, but he only played 21 minutes in this game and did ultimately end up hurting his knee. He was playing really well in those 21 minutes, so if he played the rest of the game and got his normal minutes, he probably pays off of this price tag overall, which is kind of unfortunate there. Hopefully he's not hurt too bad and doesn't miss too much time. Probably going to be out for today's game since they are the one lone team on the back-to-back, though. At power forward, we had Keegan Murray, $5,800, looking for at least 29 out of him. Got to 24.5 as well, so he was a mess. Played 30 minutes in this game, mainly scoring dependent, though. So he was actually doing pretty well. But the kind of hard part was he really just scored the ball. He didn't really do anything else. He had like 3 rebounds and just like nothing else. So kind of unfortunate there. And then at center, we went with Walker Kessler at $5,500, looking for 27, 28 points down. Got to 27.25, so did ultimately give him a push there. Played 27 minutes in this game. He did have no blocks, which is something he's kind of known for. Would expect a little bit bigger upside out of him in that Dallas Mavericks matchup. I think he finished with 9 rebounds as well, so we just missed out on that double-double bonus. And then I did list Isaiah Hartenstein down below too, just because we had him earlier in the day, $5,400. Looking for 27 out of him, got to 39, so if you stayed on him, he was a pretty good hit on yesterday's slate overall. Obviously, with kind of the misses that we did have, it was a lot tougher day to cash on DraftKings overall, although it was a lower scoring day overall. So, if you had some other pretty good plays, you probably had a chance of at least min cashing at the very least. And then over on FanDuel, we had Miles McBride at point guard, $5,200. Looking for 26 out of him, got 25.1, so technically I did give him a push there. Was just under what we were looking for out of him. Obviously, we would have wished that he had a little bit better day. I believe it has Alec Burks off the bench that actually had a really good day, so maybe that affected Miles McBride just a little bit as well. Then at shooting guard, we had Keon Ellis. He'd been in that starting lineup playing pretty well, had a lot of defensive stats, which really beneficial on FanDuel overall, but $4,600 was looking for 23 out of him at the very least. Only got 6.2. So it was a really ineffective day for him overall. He was a mess. Played 21 minutes this game, 1 for 3 shooting from the field. And he really didn't have those defensive stats, which has kind of been helping him out quite a bit as of late. And then at small forward, we had Cam Johnson, $5,400, looking for 27 out of him. Got to 31.6, so he was a hit. And then at power forward, we ultimately ended up on Jabari Smith Jr. since Giannis ultimately played. Kind of was the easiest pivot from Bobby Portis, but $7,100 looking for 35, 36 out of him. Terrible day for him overall, 10.4. So he was a really bad miss. Only played 22 minutes in this game, 2 for 10 shooting from the field. Really terrible day for him, and he did suffer some foul trouble. Looks like this game kind of went big, especially after DeMar DeRozan and Dillon Brooks both got ejected from the game for their role in their incident. Not going to go too far down that rabbit hole, though, so just kind of unfortunate overall. And then last but not least, we had Walker Kessler, once again, $6,100. Looking for at least 31 out of him, got 25.8. Once again, he was a miss, played 27 minutes in this game, and a guy that usually gets a lot of block shots had no blocks in this game, so let's just say he gets 2 blocks. That would have put him, at 31.8 and would have been paying off at this price tag. So just a little bit unfortunate there overall. So not the greatest day overall on FanDuel as well. If you had some other really good plays, maybe you had a chance to cash, but it was a little bit tougher with Keon Ellis and Jabari Smith in this lineup overall. But with that being said, it's DFS. We come back the very next day, so hopefully tonight is a good one overall. And with that being said, we'll get moved over to RotoWire and talk about those injuries in play for tonight's slate. So we're going to start off with the Boston Celtics. Drew Holiday is out once again. We got Jason Tatum, Kristaps Porzingis, Al Horford, and Jaylen Brown. All listed as questionable tonight. So there could be some value popping up on the Celtics team overall. Just kind of depends on who's in and who's out for tonight's game overall. And then Sam Hauser is listed as probable to play due to his ankle injury. So he should be back for tonight's game. Potentially a guy that could benefit in a big way if some of these guys start getting ruled out for tonight's game overall. Then we move over to the Detroit Pistons, who are without Simone Fontecchio, Taj Gibson, Quentin Grimes. And then Moody did ultimately end up fracturing his ankle in their most recent game. So unfortunate for him. Thoughts and prayers go out to him as he will be recovering from that. Detroit's looking pretty thin at this point in time. Obviously, Cade Cunningham, Jaden Ivey still going to be doing their thing, as well as Jalen Duren. But other than that, you're looking at a lot of guys that are going to be coming into some minutes, whether it's Evan Fournier. I can't even pronounce this other guy's name, but he's there. He started the last game for them. They do have Chimezie Metu on their team, who is probably one of their more talented big court players now that can play, either the power forward or the center spot. So he could be a little bit interesting as a value play tonight overall. But, not the greatest for a Detroit team, but we'll see what that ultimately looks like as the day moves along. We were the Oklahoma City Thunder, appear to be all the way healthy at this point in time. On the opposite end for the Toronto Raptors, we have Scotty Barnes, RJ Barrett, Chris Boucher, DJ Carton, Jakob Poeltl, and Emmanuel Quickley all out once again. So pretty similar to what we've seen in their most recent game. Probably going to get blown out in this game once again, but if you want to take some shots on these guys, it does make a little bit of sense overall. Then we get over to the New Orleans Pelicans. They're the lone team on the back-to-back. Dyson Daniels is expected to be out once again. Brandon Ingram obviously hurt his knee yesterday, so we'll see ultimately whether or not he ends up playing tonight or not. And then on the Miami Heat side, we got Tyler Hero, Kevin Love, Duncan Robinson all out once again. Bam Adebayo listed as questionable with that back injury. He did miss their most recent game. So we'll ultimately see whether or not he plays tonight or not. And then with that being said, we saw Patty Mills start in place of, Duncan Robinson and Tyler Hero at that shooting guard spot their most recent game. We'll see whether or not that's the case once again tonight or not. I thought it was going to be Caleb Martin. Unfortunately, I was wrong. It could be Caleb Martin. It could be Jaime Jaquez. It could be Patty Mills. Heck, they could even start like Haywood Highsmith and bump everybody up a little bit as well. So a lot of different ways that they can go for today's game overall. Then we get down to Cleveland Cavaliers. Same 5 guys out for them once again. Ty Jerome, Donovan Mitchell, Evan Mobley, Max Strus, and Dean Wade. So no real changes there. Obviously, if you want to get to some Darius Garland, some Karis LeVert, definitely makes a lot of sense. And then Georges Niang is kind of a value play overall. Then on the Minnesota Timberwolves side, we have Jalen Clark, Karl-Anthony Towns, both out once again. And then we have Naz Reid, Rudy Gobert, and Anthony Edwards, all listed as questionable for tonight's game once again. Gobert and Naz Reid both missed their most recent game, so could be some value opening up on this team. We'll ultimately see what that looks like as the day moves along, though. Then we move over to the Memphis Grizzlies, who have this long injury list once again. So Brandon Clark, Luke Kennard, Derrick Rose, Marcus Smart, Lamar Stevens, Yuta Watanabe, and Zaire Williams all out once again. And then we have Desmond Bane, Vince Williams, both listed as doubtful to play. So kind of knocks those two off once again. And then we got Scottie Pippen Jr. and John Conchar, both listed as questionable to play for tonight's game overall. Scottie Pippen Jr. been dealing with like a leg shin issue. And then John Conchar is believed is dealing with a heel issue. If they're unable to go, then we're probably going to see more minutes for, I believe it's like Dejan Jarreau, probably mispronouncing his name. And then Jordan Goodwin as well. So those could be kind of interesting. Just kind of depends on who ultimately ends up starting for this team, who's kind of in and who's kind of out. Then on the San Antonio Spurs side, we got Zach Collins listed as questionable to play. He's been dealing with a little bit of a concussion. The fact that he's upgraded to questionable makes it look like he should be back for tonight, but not anybody we really want to get to for DFS purposes anyways. And then we move down to the Indiana Pacers. Obi Toppin listed as questionable to play due to an ankle injury. We did see Doug McDermott return in their most recent game. And then for the Golden State Warriors, Draymond Green listed as probable to play due to his back injury. Moses Moody is listed as questionable to play. I believe it's a knee injury that he's been playing through. So not really too concerned about either of those guys. Get over to the Los Angeles Clippers. Russell Westbrook remains out. And then Norman Powell and Terrence Mann both listed as questionable to play. Both of them did ultimately end up missing their most recent game. And then we did see Amir Coffey enter the lineup as that 5th starter. On the Portland Trailblazers side, we got Malcolm Brogdon and Shaedon Sharpe both out once again. Jeremy Grant listed as doubtful due to that hamstring injury once again. Matisse Thybulle listed as questionable due to that ankle injury once again. So probably getting Thybulle and Grant out once again just because that's kind of what we've seen as of late. And then Anthony Simons listed as probable play for tonight's game overall with that knee injury once again. We move over to the Philadelphia 76ers. We got Robert Covington, Joel Embiid, Kai Jones, and DeAnthony Melton all out. So no real changes from that regard. We got Tobias Harris listed as questionable to play with that ankle injury. And he's missed a handful of games now at this point in time. So we'll see ultimately whether or not he ends up playing tonight or not. Obviously, if he's unable to go, probably going to see Nick Batum in that starting lineup once again tonight. And then on the Lakers side, we got Castleton, Vanderbilt, Vincent, and Wood all out once again. LeBron James is listed as questionable, and then Anthony Davis is listed as probable. Their normal statuses, and they're probably going to play as they typically do. But with that being said, that's a quick little rundown on all the injuries in play for tonight's games. As always, I'll be listing all the injury updates down in the comments throughout the day as they do become available, as well as the starting lineups as they do get announced throughout the night. But with that being said, we'll get moved over to DraftKings and talk about my core picks over there. So on the DraftKings side, we're going to start off with point guard Scoot Henderson, $5,400. Looking for 27 out of him. He's played up over 30 minutes the two most recent games, obviously coming off the big game, which was this exact same matchup versus the Clippers. So I do like his upside quite a bit tonight. Currently, I'm projected for 29 fantasy points. Has some upside for more. Has a little bit downside for less at the same time as well. Then at shooting guard, we're going to go with Derek White. He is the point guard for the Boston Celtics once again tonight. With no Drew Holiday out there on the floor, he's actually played really well this season. Actually been playing probably better with Drew Holiday than last year when there kind of was no Drew Holiday. But he's really just taking that step up in general. Good matchup versus the Detroit Pistons tonight. $7,600 here. You're looking for at least 38 out of him. And he's outperformed that, I believe, his four most recent games. So definitely do like his upside. Currently, I'm projected for about 40 fantasy points tonight. Has some strong upside for more. You know, if everything's going well for him, if some of these other guys ultimately do end up getting ruled out, do definitely like his upside. There's a little bit of downside for less as you can get with some of these Boston guys just in general, but it feels like a relatively safe play on tonight's slate overall, which is something that's maybe a little bit crazy to say about Derek White at $7,600. You know, coming into the season, we weren't kind of expecting that, but he's played really well so far this season. Then at small forward, we're going to go with G.G. Jackson for the Memphis Grizzlies, $6,200. Might be in that starting lineup once again, but he's played really well as of late. So we're looking for at least 31 out of him. Not really too worried about the season average because he was coming off the bench, not playing as big a minutes then, but as of late, he's been one of their main point scorers, and he's been doing really well. So currently I'm projected for about 33, 34 fantasy points tonight, and he definitely does have some upside for more at the same time as well. Then at power forward, we got Georges Niang here, just kind of a cheap option at $4,600. Looking for 23 fantasy points out. Not the craziest matchup in the world versus the Minnesota Timberwolves, you know, although he's probably going to get a lot of like Jaden McDaniels, who is a decent defensive player when he wants to be. So I'm not sure exactly how that pans out, but with the minutes that Niang's getting, if he's out there, if he's scoring the ball well, he should definitely have some appeal as kind of a value play. This is one that maybe changes as the day moves along, but do currently have him projected for about 26 fantasy points tonight. And then last but not least, we're going to the center position with Ivica Zubac. $5,400, looking for 27 out of him. He's averaging just over that on the season so far. Decent matchup versus the Portland Trailblazers. Tonight is the matchup he did very well in the last time, although he had like 4 steals and 2 blocks. I don't expect that level of production on the defensive end from him once again. But, you know, he only played 24 minutes in that game. If he plays, 28 minutes in this game, should easily outperform this price tag overall. Currently, I'm projected for about 29 tonight, but could have a little bit of upside for more at the same time as well. But with that being said, if you go with these 5 players that do currently have listed here, you have $20,800 remaining, just over $6,900 per player. So a decent amount of money left over. You know, if you want to pay up for kind of one stud player, you can definitely do that as well, and then kind of fill out the rest from there. Or if you want to take a little bit more balanced approach, you can definitely do that as well. Should be some value that does ultimately end up opening up throughout the day, especially on the DraftKings side where we do have more games to choose from just in general. But with that being said, we'll get moved over to FanDuel and talk about my core picks over there as well. So as we move over to FanDuel, it's important to remember that there's only 5 games on the FanDuel main slate for tonight. So we're going to start off at the point guard position with Trey Jones, $6,000. Playing pretty well for the San Antonio Spurs team as of late, playing up over 30 minutes per game. Good matchup tonight versus the Memphis Grizzlies. You know, worst case scenario for him, I don't even know who starts at point guard. That would be the worst case scenario because you're going to get Scottie Pippen Jr., who should be a favorable matchup. Jordan Goodwin, probably a favorable matchup. And then, John Conchar, Dejan Jarreau, or whatever his name is. Like, all these guys should be a favorable matchup for a guy like Trey Jones just in general. So do like his upside tonight. Currently, I'm projected for 32. You're looking for at least 30 out of him. But as we've seen in his most recent game even, he does have some upside for more at the same time. Then at shooting guard, we're going with Karis LeVert, $7,800. Looking for 39 out of him. He's been taking a big step up since he's been in that starting lineup for this team overall. His last 3 or 4 games have been very, very high upside. So if we get that out of him once again tonight, it's going to look like a great play overall. Currently, I'm projected for about 40, 41, but definitely does have some strong upside for more at the same time as well. Maybe a little bit of downside for less, since Minnesota is a decent defensive team, but LeVert and what he's been able to do and what he's had to do as of late has been pretty great. Then at small forward, we're going to go with Trey Murphy here. I think he probably enters the starting lineup. I'm going to assume Brandon Ingram's out tonight. So Trey Murphy gets some decent size minutes. He's been scoring the ball really well as of late. If he can get some of those other stats, those rebounds, steals, blocks, anything else like that, he's going to look like a really attractive play tonight at $6,100, where you're looking for about 31 out of him. Currently, I'm projected right around that range, 30 to 31, but does have a little bit of upside for more. If he's going out there, he's getting some of those defensive stats as well as scoring the ball well once again. Then at power forward, we're going G.G. Jackson once again, $6,600, looking for 33 out of him. He's been in that starting lineup. He's playing extremely well as of late. He's been scoring the ball extremely well. And, one of their major options at this point in time, so definitely do like him. It's an attractive matchup. It's a pace-up spot versus the San Antonio Spurs tonight. So that upside looks even better. Currently, I'm projected for 33, which is what we're looking for out of him, but does offer that upside for more. If he's going out there, if he's scoring the ball well, if he's getting a couple of rebounds here and there, if he gives you anything at all on the defensive end, which really hasn't done much as of late, but do like his upside quite a bit, especially in GPPs. Then last but not least, an interesting paydown option tonight at center is Chimezie Metu for the Detroit Pistons. So I'm not going to say for sure this happens, but there is always a chance he answers that starting lineup because they're down so many big men that they might need him to play some more minutes. Maybe they start Duren and Wiseman together, which would be weird, but I doubt that happens. Metu's one of their more skilled big men at this point in time. So $3,800 for a guy that could play decent sized minutes. He played 22 their most recent game. And in that game, he pretty much gave us 5x in 22 minutes. So if he can do something similar once again tonight, going against the Boston Celtics should be a pretty decent day for him overall. If he goes out, he gets you 20 minutes. You're probably not going to be too upset with him. If he goes out and he plays like 28 minutes, this could be a pretty high-end upside play just in general. The Pistons just kind of need warm bodies. He's one of the better warm bodies that they kind of have off their bench, at the very least, with a chance to start tonight overall. Currently, I'm projected for about 20 points, which would make him look like a decent value option. And center on FanDuel today, I'm not too excited about. There is some upside swings that you can take there, but at the same time, nobody that really truly stands out as we start off the day. But with that being said, if you go with the 5 players that I currently have listed here, you'll have $29,700 remaining, just over $7,400 per player. So look at a little bit more like a balance build type of day once again. But obviously, if you want to pay up for a stud player, a star player, you can definitely do that. And then kind of pair them up with some value plays, whether they're ones we talked about early on today, whether there are other ones that do open up as the day moves along as well. But with that being said, these are my core picks for both FanDuel and DraftKings for today, March 22nd. As always, if you have any questions related to NBA DFS, be sure to drop them down in the comments below, and I'll get back to you as quickly as possible. I do ask that you please note whether those questions are more FanDuel or DraftKings specific, just so I can best help you as quickly and efficiently as possible. And then, as always, I'll be listing all the injury updates down in the comments below, as well as the starting lineups as they do get announced throughout the night. And then, as always, I will have my updated core coming out about 20 to 30 minutes prior to lock as a pinned comment. If there's any other additional changes to that updated core after that point in time, I will leave them as a reply to that pinned comment as well. But with that being said, if you were brand new to my channel, checking out for the very first time, or have yet to subscribe, please consider doing so. Definitely would appreciate it. Helps to build the community that we're trying to build here at Coach Craig Sports, which is one that's truly for you, the viewers, helping you with your DFS. Right now, we just got NBA DFS going on in terms of the core pick videos, but that will be changing pretty quickly as MLB starts up next Thursday. So I will be doing an MLB DFS core pick video on that day as well. And then UFL season is starting up. So also be sure to look out for my UFL DFS content. And then last but not least, if you're interested in sports betting, if you're interested in prop betting whatsoever, be sure to check out the links and promo codes down in the description below for Prize Picks, Parlay Play, and BetUS. If you are a brand new user on any one of those 3 sites, you sign up, you make your initial deposit, you'll get a first match deposit bonus. For Prize Picks and Parlay Play, it's a 100% match up to $100 on your initial deposit. And then for BetUS, it's a 125% match on your initial deposit up to $2,500. So some pretty great opportunities to be had out there. And then with that being said, if you have any other additional questions related to that whatsoever, feel free to reach out to me, whether it's down in the comments or on Twitter at Coach Craig Sport, and be more than happy to help you with that journey as well. But with that being said, that's all that I truly have for today's video. Definitely do appreciate each and every one of you tune in. Definitely means a lot to me. I hope that each and every one of you have a great rest of your day and some pretty good luck in NBA DFS tonight.